Hello and welcome to the Adobe Twitch channel. My name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist for Adobe. It's my pleasure to be here streaming live and doing the Creative Cloud Learning stream, which in this case it's Introduction to Lightroom CC Part 6, Lightroom for Mobile and Web. Yes, I said web. We'll be doing Lightroom Mobile, Lightroom for Mobile, Lightroom for Web in this hour, learning all about the features and things you can take advantage of when you're using Lightroom Mobile. With that said, if you're watching this as a video on demand on the Twitch channel or you're watching it as a replay on my YouTube channel, thanks for watching the replay. But also note that this is a live show and therefore I will be looking over here and I will be saying things to the people in the live audience like, hey Jan, hey Elsie Finch, hey Victoria. Those are the people I see right now in the chat. So if you are watching this as a video on demand, note that you can be participating live and getting your questions answered just by heading over to twitch.tv/Adobe Tuesdays and Fridays between 10 a.m. and noon Eastern Time for my show, or any time on the Twitch channel, 17 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. I usually kick things off on Tuesday and Friday mornings, but after that, people are on all day long, into the wee hours of the night. So you can always watch something creative here on the Adobe Twitch channel. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to do today. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about, we did a lot so far in telling people how to get their images in, how to organize them in collections, the difference between collections and folders, adding keywords, adding people tags, adding metadata. We even did some development using the develop module, adjusting the photos globally and on and locally with the adjustment brush and some of the filters that are built into Lightroom. So at this point, I'm now leaving that Lightroom catalog that we started and we used for the first 5 parts. And for the rest of the parts, I'm going to be using my existing normal everyday catalog, the catalog I use all the time. And the reason I'm switching is because since I want to start talking about Lightroom Mobile can only be enabled for one catalog at a time. So since I don't want to turn it off for that catalog and turn it on for the learning one and then have to turn it off for that one and turn it back on for this one, I'll just use this catalog. That way it's already on, and that way I can go from scratch, showing you what Lightroom Mobile is all about, but more importantly, giving you examples that already exist in my existing collection. So with that said, let me switch over to the camera so you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. And now that you can see my computer, you'll note, and here, let me make sure that's above the fold, and it is. Okay, you'll note that the collection or the catalog I'm in is synced to Lightroom Mobile, and you might be asking, well, how would I know? How do I even turn on Lightroom Mobile? I'm new. What is Lightroom Mobile? What's this all about? Okay, so again, keeping this in the form of a learning stream, let's start with what is Lightroom Mobile and how do you turn it on, or how do you even get started? So until you use Lightroom Mobile, all of your images are stored locally on your hard drives. We talked about that at the very beginning. In the folders you put them in. They don't exist anywhere else. They're not on your phone. They're not anywhere else outside of Lightroom unless you're using Lightroom Mobile. If you're using Lightroom Mobile, then you can enable regular collections to sync to Lightroom Mobile so they would be accessible in your iOS and Android version of Lightroom, which is a free download. Anyone can download the Lightroom for iPhone, iPad, or Android. And any collections you've synced as a Creative Cloud member will be in the app. So you'll have access to all of your photos in the app that you've synced. Even if you didn't have a mobile device, by syncing a collection to Lightroom Mobile, that collection is also available on the web in your version of Lightroom for the web. So, and that's just a URL. Signing in with the same Adobe ID, you'll see all of your collections and be able to use them. Now, in addition to you having access to all of your collections on the web, you can pick and choose individual collections that you want to make public and give people a URL to access that single collection or those single collections on the web. So for example, if you did a photo shoot, let's say you did a birthday party or you did a job for a client, and you want the client to be able to look at the photos, you can put them in a collection, sync that collection, choose to sync that collection to Lightroom Mobile, and then make that collection public. So there's a make public button right there. Once you make that collection public, then you'll get a link to just that one collection, and you can share that link with anyone you want, and they can open it up in any web browser on desktop, mobile, or anywhere else. So that's one of the ways you can share your work outside of Lightroom without having to export all the pictures, manually put them somewhere on the web, so forth and so on. All right. So how do you get started? Well, it's actually fairly easy, but it's also a little obscured. It's a little hidden. I'm using a custom identity plate, which is a feature of Lightroom. I know we haven't talked about it yet, but you can use an identity plate of text or an image so it doesn't just say Lightroom. And once you know what? Let's do this. No, actually, I'm not going to do it. Never mind. I was going to do something else. Never mind. I'm not going to do it. But whatever your identity plate is, whether it's the custom one I built or you've built, or one of the ones that's already here, meaning that it just says Lightroom. When you click on this area, notice there's a little drop-down menu. When you click on that drop-down menu, there's three things: sync with Lightroom Mobile, address lookup, or face detection. So sync with Lightroom Mobile is off by default. So I've turned it on, which now there's a pause button. Sync is on unless I click to pause the syncing. So sync, I just leave it on all the time. Address lookup is for the map module. So if you import any photos, let's say from your smartphone, and those photos have geotag information, then address lookup will prompt you, actually, do you want to turn on reverse lookup? And you're going to say yes. And that will be on until you turn it off. And then last but not least, we talked about this last week, the face detection feature. I have it turned on only for, I don't have it turned on. I have it paused, and I turn it on by switching to the people view under the view menu for any collection or folder that I want it to start working on. Because if I turn it on, here's the reason why I don't leave it on all the time. If I leave it on all the time, or turned it on full blast and just let it go, then what would happen is, here, let me scroll. I have 188,138 photos in Lightroom. And it would go through every single photo I have and see if there's a person in it and try and identify that person. And while that might sound like, hey, that's cool, and it's a background process, and it could just run in the background. I did turn it on initially when that feature came out, and it was taking days, literally days, to go through all my photos and look for the people tags. So I thought, you know what? I don't need every single photo I've ever taken to be identified. Maybe I will someday. But now I turn it on as needed per folder, per collection. All right, so now that we know where to turn it on, now that we know what it does and what it's for, how do you actually, once it's turned on, how do you actually enable it per collection? Well, once it's turned on, here, let me turn the navigator. Oops, I turned some stuff off here. Once it's turned on, you will have, actually I want to turn that off. There we go. You will have a little, now notice you don't have anything next to your folders. So this is a collection only feature. So another reason why people are, sometimes when people ask me, well, why would I use a collection when I can just put everything in folders? Here's another reason: because you can't use Lightroom Mobile on a folder. It has to be in a collection. So you'll notice that next to each collection, each regular collection, not smart collections, there's this little box. And either that little box is empty, like that one, or it has this little sync symbol in it, like this one. So what this means is, for compositing, for example, for this collection of 7 photos, I'm not syncing that collection to Lightroom Mobile for whatever reason. Probably because I don't need it in Lightroom Mobile. But if I wanted it to be in Lightroom Mobile, if I wanted those 7 photos to be synced, then I would just click the box. So now it's syncing those 7 photos. And if I want to see that status, I come over here and go back to this, and it will tell me how many photos are left to sync. So there's only 2 left out of those 7 photos, and then it will go down to 1, and then it'll go away because it has synced all 7. Now, here's the other thing in terms of syncing and, hang on for a minute, and what you need to know in terms of, there we go, in terms of what it syncs, how many can it sync, how much storage do I get? Let's see, what are the other questions do I get? How big are the photos that it syncs, so forth and so on. Okay, let's start with Lightroom Mobile. As a Creative Cloud customer, you have Lightroom Mobile, and Lightroom Mobile storage is totally separate and different than your Creative Cloud storage. Most Creative Cloud members have 20 gigs of folder storage, right? This has nothing to do with that 20 gigs. It doesn't impact that 20 gigs. It doesn't mean anything to that 20 gigs. Actually, as it stands, Lightroom Mobile is unlimited. There is no gigabyte limit. There's no terabyte limit. There's no number of photo limit. It is unlimited. So if I wanted to sync if I wanted to put all 180,000 photos in that I have in one collection or multiple collections and sync them all, it would. It would take time, but it would do it. So there is no limit. You're not being penalized. Your space isn't being taken away. You have unlimited syncing. The other distinction I want to make up is it's syncing, not backing up. People often get those two confused. Backing up, it means that the photo is stored somewhere else, and if I delete it here, I can always get it back from the somewhere else. That's a backup. Syncing means the photo is stored here and it's synced somewhere else. And if I delete it here or mess it up here, it's also messed up somewhere else or delete it somewhere else. That's syncing. So make sure you understand that difference. We're not backing up your photos. If your drive gets toasted, your drive got toasted and all those photos on your drive are gone. Yes, theoretically, you could sync them back down from Lightroom Mobile, provided they haven't been deleted from Lightroom Mobile at the same time. But you're not getting back the originals, which leads me to my next thing. In this case, we have, in this folder that I just synced today, we have RAW plus JPEG. We have a RAW file, a JPEG, a JPEG, a JPEG, a PSD, a PSD. If I click on this, let's say this PSD. I know this one's fairly large. If I click on this PSD, it's 3871 by 5800. And it's 128 megabytes just for that one photo. Now the JPEGs are going to be a lot smaller. If I click on this JPEG, instead it is 3264 by 2448, and it's only 1.78 megs. So if I had a big giant layered file in here, it would even be bigger. So we're not syncing these huge RAW files or big Photoshop layered files or even big JPEGs. What we're syncing instead is the Smart Preview. We talked about Smart Previews when we started doing the import session on day 1 or day 2 of the stream. So a Smart Preview is 2048 pixels on the longest dimension. So instead of this one being 3871 by 5800, it would be whatever it is by 2048, because 5800 would be the longest dimension. So it's not the full resolution that's being synced up from your desktop. That's why syncing can happen in the first place. That's why it can happen relatively quick. And the bandwidth just doesn't exist for most people to sync all their RAW files and all their giant PSDs. You can imagine that would take forever and use up a lot of bandwidth, which in some cases, bandwidth in the US here is still capped by certain providers, who I will leave nameless, but still hate. Anyway, so we're syncing smart previews, and that's what's getting synced. Now, on the other hand, when you're capturing images with your device, when you're shooting with your phone, when you're shooting with your tablet, when you're bringing in video, when you're doing those things from your device out in the field, and you say, add that photo to Lightroom Mobile, that full resolution is being synced up to the cloud. So in this case, I've got an iPhone 6S Plus here. It shoots an 8 or 12 megapixel file, I think. That 12 megapixel image is being synced up to Lightroom Mobile and down to my computer. Because at the end of the day, you got to have the full resolution somewhere. And so we don't want it just on the phone. So therefore, in that case, anything you shoot with your phone, whatever your phone can shoot, will go up. Some phones can shoot in RAW. Some of the Android phones. So those Android phones, those RAW files are, in fact, being synced up and down to your computer. So from your computer, smart previews up and down. From your device, whatever your device's resolution is, up and down. So it depends on which way you're going as to what the resolution will be. Okay, now that we've done all that, how does it all work? So for example, let's go ahead and create a new collection. I already had one called Twitch Tuesday. So let's do this. Let's do a brand new one. We'll create a collection called, instead of Twitch Tuesday, we'll call it Twitch Lightroom CC. All right, so and we'll even go as far as to say learning stream. All right, so now that we have the title, we can tell it what collection set to put it in. So instead of there, I'm going to put it in my demo collection set. A collection set is just a folder of collections. And hey, Scott Kelby's in the house. What's going on? Scott Kelby's here. All right, anyway, now that we got the name of the collection here, I can tell it to include selected photos, which in this case I left that one selected, so that one will get selected or imported into this new collection. But also note, here's the magical checkbox that is checked by default because I do have Lightroom Mobile turned on. Do you want to sync this new collection you're creating with Lightroom Mobile, yes or no? If I say yes, it'll not only create the collection, but it'll start syncing whatever's in it into it. Scott Kelby's in the house. Follow Scott Kelby. All right. Now that we got that in place, so that collection has been created. What did I call it? I called it, what did I call it? Oh, there it is. Twitch Lightroom CC Learning Stream. It's got the checkbox on it. It's syncing that one photo, and it'll sync any other photos we put in it. So, for example, if I go to Twitch Tuesday, and I grab this one here of me shooting at Horseshoe Bend in Arizona, and I grab this one, and I drag those in to that collection. Those three photos will get synced as well. So it doesn't matter what file type it is. It doesn't matter if it's a PSD or RAW file or whatever. It will sync those to Lightroom Mobile. And if I go up here, it's done because chances are I didn't have to sync those again because they were already synced in a different collection. It just references them now in this collection. So now, how do I see those photos? How do I see what this looks like? Let me fire up my iPhone. Let me go ahead and go to my iPhone so you can see it. And there's my iPhone on one side. So let's see what this looks like here. All right. And there I am on the other side. Not blocking anything. I'm trying not to block anything. Okay. So now in my Adobe folder here, I've got Lightroom. So there's the Lightroom app right at the top. It's the one I use the most. And when I go to that app, it will actually probably be left in the collection I was last in. Yep, it's in the collection I was last in. Let's go here, out. And if I scroll down, oh, it's all the way down on the Twitch, right? There it is, Twitch Lightroom CC. So there is the collection already on my phone, already ready to go. So all I had to do was go to it on my phone, launch the app. I'm already signed in with the same Adobe ID, and any collections I sync, those images are now available to me on my phone, on my iPad, and on the web. So here on my phone, I've got those three photos. What if I want to do two things? I want to add a photo, and I want to make adjustments to a photo. So we're going to bring up the Lightroom camera. I've got nothing interesting here to take a photo of. You know what? We're going to take a photo of my streaming setup. Let's do that. All right, so we'll bring up the Lightroom camera, And there I am live taking the photo of me taking a photo. So let's go ahead and bring that up. Oops, sorry. You can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Now you can see me taking a photo of me taking a photo. So here, in case you missed it because I was on the wrong camera. So I'm in Lightroom Mobile. I want to bring up the camera. There's a camera icon at the very bottom right. I tap the camera icon. There I am live taking a photo of me taking a photo. So I'm going to go ahead and take a photo. And that photo now has been added in, and I'm still looking at the camera itself. So if I go back out of the camera, there is the actual photo that's been added to this collection. And that photo behind the scenes is already being synced up to Lightroom Mobile in its 12 megapixel form, because that's what this particular iPhone shoots. And ultimately, it will appear in that collection in the background. All right, so now that we've got that, the next thing I want to do is do an adjustment. So I'm going to tap on this first photo. And in this first photo, I'm going to, oh, by the way, before we do that, here's I'll give you a tip. One of the things that's bugged me, or bugs new users about Lightroom Mobile, and bugged me at first until I knew what was going on. Look at the difference in the sorting. In the sorting on the phone, the girl's first, I'm second, and I'm third, and then the new one's going to be fourth. But on the computer, it's in a different order. Because Lightroom Mobile on your phone always defaults to capture order. So the date and time stamp of the photo, it puts them in that order by default. So that picture of the girl in Egypt is the oldest one, so it's first. If you want to change the sort order, just tap on the name of the collection. And when you tap on the name of the collection, that will then go, you see at the very bottom, it's sort by capture time. If I tap on sort by capture time, then I can tap on anything else, but custom order will put it in the same order that you have it in on Lightroom on the desktop. And why am I? Okay, good. All right, so now that we've got that in place, I am a little worried why this photo hasn't come down yet. Let's check the sync status there. Okay, syncing one photo. So that photo's coming down. It should be down any second now. But anyway, I've got the same order now. Now I can go to this photo with the girl in it. And with this photo and the girl in it, I can see that it needs some adjustments. It needs some love. It needs some dehaze. Now, of course, I could have adjusted it on my computer, and it would already be adjusted, and it would already be here adjusted. But 9 times out of 10, and you will do it that way for the images that are already on your computer. But when you're shooting images, when you're out and about capturing things, then you'll want to probably make adjustments to those photos that you just captured. So I can come down here and tap on Edit, and I get a lot of the same default editing options that we covered over the last 2 streams in the Develop module. Including, if I tap the little gear or shutter icon on the left-hand side, I can go all the way down to Dehaze. And when I go to Dehaze, I can tap on Dehaze, and this is all non-destructive, and I can go ahead and add some dehaze to this photo and restore it and bring it back. All right, so now that I've done that, and of course I can crop it, I can do anything else I want to do to it, and it will do those operations to the photos. Oh, hang on, I want to crop this, and I want to crop it free, and I just want to bring it down just a little bit there, and say okay, and now that photo's also been cropped. All right, so in the background, I also see the photo just came in, the one we shot. And again, that will depend on the size of the photo, your internet connection, you're not streaming at the same time, all of the above. So now when I go back, that change I made to the photo will also be synced. But here's the difference. That should happen a little quicker, actually a lot quicker, because we're not syncing the photo back and forth. We're not changing pixels, saving the photo, syncing it up, syncing it down. We're actually making just metadata changes. So, because you got to remember, all the changes you make in Lightroom, even Lightroom Mobile, are non-destructive. So if I make a change, that change is only happening in metadata, and therefore that change with the metadata is being synced up and then down to Lightroom on the desktop. All right, so I'm going to bring up the camera one more time. We're going to talk about some features of the camera itself. So when I bring up the camera, I'm going to point it at something that I usually pointed at, which is, I'm going to change the picture in my office so at least I have something new to shoot. But anyway, the Lightroom camera has the ability to, at the very bottom there, you've got the ability to turn the flash on or off or auto. That's pretty self-explanatory. But what isn't self-explanatory is the one next to it, which is the white balance. So just like on your DSLR, you've got the ability to set your white balance. Right now it's on AWB, auto white balance, but you can set it to incandescent light, you can fluorescent lighting, daylight, cloudy, or manual. And if you tap on manual, you'll get a little thing to click on like you would a eyedropper on something that's neutral gray. So you've got auto white balance. You've even got exposure compensation. So you've got the ability to do exposure compensation here just by saying, well, the scene I'm shooting is very bright, very dark, and I would like to go ahead and adjust it to be brighter or darker right before I take the picture. So you can do exposure compensation before you even snap the shot. You've got your composition, rule of thirds, or any other method of composition you want to use, such as crop to square or shoot to square, and even a level, using the accelerometer in your device to let you know if your shot is level or not. So those are all the built-in things that are in the Lightroom camera, and a self-timer on the very end there, including some filters, which I always forget to show. But these filters are fairly new in Lightroom Mobile, and they give you the ability to shoot with a filter already on. So you can shoot that as a black and white. And yes, even though you're using a filter, they're still non-destructive adjustments that you're making. All right, so if I snap this photo, that photo gets added to the collection. And at this point, I can go in and make any adjustments to that photo that I want to make as well. So if I go here, I can come in and I can say that I want to crop this bad looking photo. Let's make this look a little bit better. Let's crop it and let's make adjustments to it. And we'll go ahead and crop it. We can also go in and apply some presets to it. Now these are Lightroom presets, so if I wanted that to look like a black and white, I can make it look like a black and white. And again, this is all non-destructive. So the crop, the black and white I applied, all of this is ready to go. Now, the other thing that people often run into is, once I've done all this, what if I just want to shoot it with my phone, make adjustments to it, and then share it immediately from my phone? What do I do for that? How do I just, I don't want to go back to my computer yet. I'm out and about. I shot something, made adjustments, made it look better in Lightroom, which we can still do, by the way. Hang on for a minute. One more thing. There we go. Made it look better in Lightroom. Now what? How do I get this out of Lightroom? How do I get this to share? Well, you notice there's a share icon in the upper right-hand corner. When I tap the share icon, that gives me the ability to share it using the iOS or Android sharing feature. So Facebook would come up, Twitter would come up, AirDrop would come up, all the things would come up that you would normally be able to share it to. Obviously, you could save it to your camera roll. So you can save it to your camera roll as a JPEG with all the adjustments applied to it. The original stays in Lightroom with non-destructive adjustments to it, but the adjustments you make here would get applied to that one JPEG you're saving to the camera roll. And then there's Edit In, which is an iOS feature, probably an Android feature as well, which lets me edit it in another app. In this case, when I do Edit In, it will give me the choice of editing it in our other apps, like Photoshop Fix and Photoshop Mix. I'm going to cancel that for now. The one thing that's often overlooked is people that want to go to Instagram with this. And now, how do I get this to Instagram? Because when you do a share, you don't see Instagram as a choice. To get to Instagram, you do an open in. When you do an open in, that brings up the programs that have the open in capability. In this case, I have two that I use. I use a watermarking app called iWatermark Plus because Lightroom Mobile at this point doesn't use your desktop watermarks. Or I can copy it right to Instagram. And if I copy it to Instagram, It'll fire up Instagram and it'll let me hit the double arrow to make it non-square. And then I can go ahead and share it right to Instagram from Lightroom. So the open in is how you'd go from Lightroom Mobile with your adjustments right to Instagram to be able to post the photo that you just took, and more importantly, that you adjusted. I'll switch back to Lightroom Mobile. Now the other thing that I want to point out is usually the syncing is paused while you're making adjustments, and that kind of makes sense. Why should it waste time syncing the photo back and forth, or at least the metadata back and forth, if you're still making adjustments? So the reason a lot of times that you won't see it on your computer right away is because you're still in it, doing things to it. So if I go ahead and get out of it, now that will start the sync process to either finish syncing it or sync it up to the desktop or to Lightroom Mobile and then back down to the desktop. All right, two more things here. What if you already shot a photo? What if your photo already exists and you just want to add it in to Lightroom? Meaning you shot it with the regular camera, you shot it with your device camera, you shot a video. So, because the Adobe camera doesn't shoot video. So you shot a video or you shot your existing image. How do you bring those in? So if I say add photos at the very bottom, I can add from camera roll. So if I say add from camera roll, I can see all the ones with the LR on them are ones that already exist in Lightroom Mobile. But if I tap on the ones that don't have an LR, like that one, and there's a video, Spark video I did earlier using Spark Post, I can bring that one in. So if I say add those two in, now both of those, and you see the little sync cloud up here, both of those have been added and they're syncing up to Lightroom Mobile and then ultimately back down to the desktop. So images that you shot any other way, with any other camera, any other capture, screen capture, whatever you did on your device, can also be added to Lightroom Mobile just simply by tapping Add Photos. And it should say Add Photos/Videos because it is videos also. And yes, your videos will sync up and down. So if you shot videos with your phone, that's one of the fastest ways to get them to your computer, because by the time you get back to your computer, they'll already be sitting there. Okay, next up. Let's see, what do I want to do next? Let's do share one more time. All right. So I talked about this already on the desktop. Let's go back to the desktop for a second. Those other things are coming, just like the metadata change came there. Let's do the web first while we're waiting. So let's go to my web browser, and not Lowe's. Let's go to new window and bring up Lightroom.adobe.com. When you type in Lightroom.adobe.com, if you're signed in, it will take you to your Lightroom mobile photos. If you're not signed in, then it will take you to the ability to sign in. So I'm not signed in, so it's letting me sign in. And since I don't want you to see my username and password, let me switch cameras real quick. And let me go ahead and sign in. Okay. Getting signed in, getting signed in, getting signed in. Signed in. Okay, signed in. Now that I'm signed in, it says, welcome back, Terry. It knows who I am. And it takes me to this general screen where it shows you a lot about what you've done so far. So it shows me how many things I've got synced, 8,610 videos, 26 photos, 26 videos, 80 collections altogether. Wow, I didn't know I had 80 collections synced, but 80 collections, the recent photos I've done, including that one we just did, that one we just brought in, that video we just brought in, collections I've shared, so forth and so on. So even from here, even in a web browser on any computer, if you log into Lightroom.adobe.com and sign in with your Adobe ID, you can even add photos from whatever computer you're on to your collection, because there's a add photos with drag and drop or select from the file system. Now, if I go to photos here, this will show me all my collections, which I'm going to scroll down. to our Twitch learning stream there. And here are the ones that we just looked at, the ones we just worked on. So I'm seeing them here, even with their adjustments that were done on the phone. I'm seeing the new ones I added. I'm seeing a video that I can click on. I can even play that video here, which is just an animation. So I've got access to my video, and if the video had sound, I'd hear it, but that video doesn't have sound. I've got access to everything, including the ability to even make adjustments here. So for example, if I click on this photo and I want to make some changes to it, I can tap the edit button here, and that will load in the editing tools in my browser and give me a lot of the same options that I have in Lightroom's develop module on my computer, or Lightroom's editing capabilities on mobile. All right, take a few seconds to do that for that image. And let's check back on Lightroom on the desktop, see what's going on. Okay, that one's come in, that one's come in, so we're just waiting on the video. All right, and let's go back here. Loading, loading, loading. Glad you just got your new iPhone SE. Excited to play with the camera now. It's a great camera on that phone. Loading, loading, loading. I'm not sure why the editing tools take as long as they do on the web version, but they take a minute to load. I've noticed that for months now. And this is, by the way, this slowness is not you. It's not your connection. It just takes a minute for this stuff to load in for some reason. But once it does, you will have all your cropping options, presets, so the same presets we saw in Lightroom Mobile, and your same sliders, many of which that we see in the adjustment module. I'm sorry, in the develop module inside of Lightroom on the desktop. And of course, all of it is non-destructive, no matter where you actually make your changes. All right. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Almost there. Now, I'm not really sure, I'm just showing this to you as part of the learning stream, but I'm not really sure how much use you're going to get out of it anyway, because I can't think of too many scenarios where I need to make edits on the browser. So, you know, it's like, when would I have the opportunity? Because if I shot it on my phone, I could use Lightroom Mobile on my phone. If it's on my computer, I've already got Lightroom on the desktop. So it's rare that I ever use the, matter of fact, I don't think I ever use the editing capability on the browser, but it's here. All right, so now we're here. I can go in and do whatever I want. So if I wanted to bump up the exposure of it, and luckily you don't have to wait for this stuff. It is in real time. So bump up the exposure, bump up the clarity of this, make that object really stand out there. Bump up the contrast. I can even play around with the white balance, adjust the temperature of the white balance, warm it up a little bit or not. And color, black and white, split toning, and effects. So you've even got dehaze here, which we don't need, but in this photo anyway, you got the ability to dehaze it or not. And this is all, again, non-destructively done on the web. So once you're done with all of your adjustments, so even let's do a crop. Once you're done with your adjustments, and we'll say save and exit. So now it's saving that metadata back up and back down to your computer or everywhere else that image is. So if we pop back over to the computer, we can see what's going on there. And okay, the videos come in now. The adjustments haven't come in for yet, but they will. And while we're waiting for that, we'll switch back to the phone for one more thing. And let's go back to the phone. And in the phone, one of the other reasons I like Lightroom Mobile is not only for the having my images there, making adjustments, but also for making selections and flagging. So for example, part of the review process is picking which ones you like or don't like. So for example, this one we took earlier. You notice at the very bottom, here, let me bring this up so you can see it. All right, notice at the very bottom, you've got crop, presets, and edit. But then there's a little menu on the left-hand side there. If you tap that little menu, it swipes over, or you can swipe over, and get to your flagging options. So we talked about this in part, I don't remember, part 3 or 4. Pick flags, color labels, and star ratings. Now, unfortunately, you only have 2 of the 3. You only have pick flags and stars. You don't have color labels in Lightroom Mobile. Lightroom team. All right, that was to them. But we do have the pick flags and the star ratings. So you can either just tap the button to flag an item, or the way I like to do it is interactively on the screen. So if I swipe up, I can mark it as a pick, a neutral, or reject, and that will mark it, and then I can just swipe to the next photo, and I can say that that's a pick, and swipe to the next photo, and say that that's a whatever. Now, but how do you get the stars then? If that's picks or rejects, how do I get to the stars? Well, if you hold down on the photo, you can choose speed flagging or speed rating, because that's speed. That's doing it from the interface. Or, my favorite, speed review combined. When I do speed review combined, now that turns the left side of the screen into flagging and the right side of the screen into star ratings. All right, one at a time. You have a shoot next week with a beautiful model from Fotolia. Congratulations. All right, next up. Cheers. And let's see if I asked anything else. Okay, so if I swipe up now on the left side, I got the ability to flag. So let's say we mark that as a pick. And if I swipe up or down on the right side, I've got the ability to do stars. So I can mark this 1 to 5 stars just by dragging up or down, and that will rate it as well. And those ratings are synced up and down and across the board as well. So by the way, I just saw the adjustments come in over here for the things we did on the web, and they're already here on the phone. And now I've also marked those with rejects and picks and so forth and so on. Actually, you know what? I don't think I rejected one. Let's reject this one. All right, we'll reject that one. Okay. If you, let's see, if we hold down, oh, not that. I want to do it that way. Is it 2 fingers? Yeah, there we go. If you do a 2-finger tap on any of the images in this grid view, you can switch what is shown at the bottom of each photo. So tap again, I can see my stars and picks. 2 fingers, tap again, I can see that it's showing my comments and likes, which I don't have any yet. I can tap again, it's hiding all info. Tap again, it's showing me the stats of the photo, when the photo was shot, what size it is, the name of the photo. 2 fingers again, it's showing me the EXIF data. f2.4, 1/120th of a second, ISO 64, so forth and so on. And of course, it just keeps cycling through all of those. So you can cycle through just by tapping with 2 fingers. The other thing you can do, let's see this one, is that if you hold down 3 fingers, you can do your before and your after. So you can see the before and after shot that you just, or I'm sorry, before you made any adjustments and the after you made all your adjustments. So the original versus the one we just did. If you shot more than one, so let's do one more real quick here. All right. So in this case, now I shot 2 of the same kind of photo. So what I can do is go here and I can Let's see if I can do it from the menu. So if I just hold my finger down, just like I did to get to the speed review combined, notice there's a copy settings at the top. If I tap copy settings, I can copy any or all of the things I've done to this photo. Because remember, we cropped it, we set it to black and white, we set the exposure. So if I say, okay, copy everything, and now I go to a different photo and hold my finger down on it, I can go to paste settings and paste everything I did to that photo to this one as well. So that's really great when you're shooting a lot of the same thing and you make one adjustment to one photo and you're like, oh God, I got to go through that for every single one. Nope. Copy and paste just like you do on the desktop. And now those adjustments have been made to that photo, which they kind of look the same. So that one doesn't really matter. But you did shoot a second photo and you made the same adjustments to it. And that second photo will get synced up as well. Okay, last but not least, we're running low on time before Beetlejuice is up next. We've got like 9 minutes left. Let's see, we did the copy paste, we did the before after. Notice when you go out of your collection, that collection has a thumbnail. What if you want a different thumbnail? So if you hold, while you're in the grid view, if you hold your finger down on one of the photos, oops, sorry, I don't know what I just chose. I did not know you could do that now in Lightroom Mobile. I did not know the sorting feature was there. I'm learning stuff here, by the way. All right, anyway, that's not what I was trying to do, but I just wanted to try that out. I saw that pop up. You do have pop and peak if you're on an iPhone 6S or 6S Plus. But the one thing I'm trying to get to here. All right, let me get out of sort. Okay, there we go. Change sort order. I didn't know that was there. Okay, what I was trying to get to was set as cover. So if I do set as cover, that thumbnail becomes the cover of the photo. I didn't know sort order was there. I've been wanting that. All right, so anyway, you can move the photos around. Scott Kelby, if you're still here, you've been wanting that too. I bet you didn't know that was there because you would have raved about it. All right, anyway, we got the sort ability. Oh, that's so cool. Change sort order. We've been asking for that for months, and the Lightroom team snuck it in and didn't even know it was there. Son of a gun. Okay, that's there. Change the cover. Last but not least, sharing the collection. Now, you can share it from mobile. You can share it from the web. You can share it from the desktop. So it doesn't matter where you share it. So I'll share it from the desktop because I think that's where most people will do it from. There's the make public option that I showed earlier. If you want to do it from mobile, then you would do it from, here, let me go back to mobile. You would do it from the share menu while you're not in a photo. Like if I'm in a photo, then it thinks I want to share the photo. If I'm not in a photo, I'm just looking at the whole collection. Now it knows I want to share the collection. So whether I do share collection from here or whether I just do the make public from here, I'm doing it, it's the same thing. So if I say make public, what you'll see it doing is generating a URL. So it's making a custom Adobe hosted URL for this collection and this collection only. And that URL you can give out, you can post on the web, you can link to your site, you can do whatever you want. And people will only have access to the photos in that collection. They won't have access to your other collections. So if I copy that to the clipboard, or just open it in the browser, it will fire this up, show me that collection. Now, this time, since I'm looking at it kind of like as a guest, I'm looking at it as a viewer of a shared collection, I don't have the, oh wait, maybe I do. No, I don't. I was going to say, I don't have the ability to edit the photos. I don't have the ability to do anything other than look at them. I can click to zoom in, which is kind of cool. I can navigate left and right. If I'm signed in with an Adobe ID, then I also get the options down here on the left-hand side to like the photo and comment on the photo. And I could say things like in the comment, I always want to type it up there. Where was this taken? All right, so post a comment as if I were a stranger. Now, again, it could be a stranger, but they have to be signed in with an Adobe ID. Anyone that has access to the link can see the photos and make changes to the photos. Now, people always ask, well, can they download the photos? We don't make it easy, but I always tell people if it's on the web, it can be downloaded. There's really no protection of images on the web. If they're there, someone smart enough that knows how to get them can get them. I can't drag and drop, but like on iOS, if I bring this up in the browser, iOS is pretty lenient in letting people save to camera roll. So it would let people on iOS do it. Photo info, which is kind of nice. It will show you your photo captions and metadata that's here. And of course, we can put this away and put the photo away. And everything I did in terms of likes and comments also gets synced up to Lightroom Mobile and back down to the desktop and on the phone and on the iPad and on the Android. So wherever you make a change, wherever you add a photo, wherever you make an adjustment, it's made everywhere. So this one is marked as a reject. This photo just got added. It got the same copy settings. I'm on the web browser. I didn't have to think about it. I can play a slideshow and I can change the sort order. All right, if we go back to the desktop, we'll see that second photo hasn't, the second photo's appeared now. And what else do I want to do? I see the reject here. And ultimately what will happen is the same thing that's happened down here. You will get, here, let's see if it's on here yet. Let's see if it's here yet. Yeah, it's here. All right, since I was already looking at the collection, I didn't get the flag, and I'll show you the flag in a minute. But the comment and the like has synced. So I got one like and one comment, and that will be at the bottom of your library sidebar here. There's a comments thing at the very bottom in the library module. So that's where you will see any comments that people make. But the question is, how do you know if someone left a comment? Like you're working along, you sent the link out to 10 people. How do you know when they look at it and when they leave a comment or a heart? And that's the flag. Okay, the flag did just appear here. So you see these little flags, these little yellow flags? That is your indicator in the desktop. Hey, someone has left a comment since you last looked at this. And what you can do is, I think it's a right click maybe? No, it's a click, not a right click. If you click on it, click on that little flag, then you can either mark them as read, meaning you've already looked at them, or you can review them. Now, what review does is it will, let's say you're looking at 100 images in your collection, and people liked and commented all the way throughout. Well, rather than you having to click on each one to see if it has a like or a comment on it, you can say review comments, and it will put all the ones with likes and comments up front. So if I say review comments, sorting by last comment time, and there it is. So it put the ones with the little yellow flag on it up front in the collection. So if there were 20 with comments and 100 without comments, the 20 with comments and likes would be now in the front of the collection. And then you can go through and click on each one and see what they are. And then ultimately the little flag will go away, letting you know that you have reviewed them all. So let's see here if I can click on that to make that happen. And if it ever didn't go away, you could always just click again and say mark all as read. And that will turn off the little flag until someone else leaves a comment. All right, so that is pretty much Lightroom Mobile. We went through a lot of it. We went through the how do you sync? How do you get images in? How do you get images in on your phone? How do you import from the camera roll? How do you make adjustments? How do you share a collection? How do you share an individual photo? The last thing, one more thing, and then we'll turn it over to Jason. What if I don't like the adjustment? Let's say I don't like this photo that we adjusted last, and then Jason's up right now. All I'd have to do is go into the develop module, and in your develop module, you've got, there it is. You've got history. And all you'd have to do is go back in time to a version you like better. So if I go back in time to that version, now it's without all those adjustments, or forward in time to the adjustments. So, and of course you can tweak any of the adjustments. So if I don't like the exposure that I did, I can make it brighter, whatever I want, and tweak just that one thing. So that's it. That's my time. Thanks guys for watching me, and we'll catch you on the next one next Tuesday, where we're doing parts 7 and 8 all at once for 2 hours. Jason, take it away, my friend.